In this video, I'm going to walk you through the reverse engineering process of what an elite athlete mindset looks like. So, in order to do that, the first thing you have to do is picture what you consider to be an elite athlete with an unstoppable mindset. For me, I think about Tom Brady, I think about Drew Brees, I think about Michael Jordan, I think about Kobe, all these elite athletes that all embody the same type of process. So before we dive in, my name is Grant Chasson. I'm a mental performance coach, former Division I quarterback, and I train college athletes, aspiring college athletes to build an unbreakable mindset, which involves confidence, focus, resilience, and dialing in simple routines every single day to help elevate your mind and help you through adversity when it matters most. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description to get in touch. So let's dive in. So first things first, you got to talk about flow state. Okay. To have this elite mindset, you have to understand what flow state is, what it does to your body, what it looks like when you're actually in the zone is what we say. So when we talk about flow state here, we're talking about the skill and challenge actually match, right? You know that it's something that's difficult, but at the same time, you know you have the skills to complete that task. So as a former quarterback, I knew if I had to drop back and throw a pass, I knew that I've put the work in. I've allowed myself to give myself a chance to dive in to this process. Didn't always work out, but I knew that I had at least given myself a chance. That's step one of entering the flow state. Step two, you have clear goals. You're always aligned with your goals. It's not, I want to get better at the sport. I want to get tougher. You have to have a measurable, very specific goal. Okay. The big term we all use is SMART goals. Okay. When you think about your clear goals, it's something that you are absolutely dialed into and is very, very, very specific. All right. Instant feedback. We can't think of coaching as criticism. We can't think of feedback as bad. We always want feedback. We always want to be given some type of, learning objective lesson from every performance we have. Okay. Automatic movements. We're in the zone. We're just flowing. Everything feels good. Life is good. Make sure that your process, your fundamentals, your technique is total muscle memory, right? And the loss of self-doubt. There's no doubt about what you're going to accomplish when you enter the flow state. So when you are in the zone, when you're in flow, you are just in the state where nothing can go wrong. And that's what we're all striving to do. Okay. So next up, let's talk about performance triggers. So when you think about performance triggers, right, you want to have a system of habits, routines, things that have basically put you in a position to set yourself up and prime the body for competition. So number one, music. Just have some type of playlist of 4, 5, 6 songs. Just keep them on repeat, right? Get your mind in the zone, get in that flow state. And of course, listen to this playlist every day. Just stay consistent, stay in that moment, right? When you build the playlist and you build your music that helps you get into the zone of where you want to be, okay, that is a trigger to prime your body. Hey, I'm about to lock in and get this done. All right, set routines. Always have the same routines, right? What do you do before practice, before a game? Always make sure that it's consistent and make sure that when you develop these routines, it sets you up for a positive performance, right? If you're doing this thing you saw on YouTube or, social media, just because your favorite player did it or the athlete across town at the rival school does it and it doesn't work for you, then why are we doing it, right? Your routines have to be set in stone. They have to work for you. They have to be personal. Okay. The breathing, cyclical breathing. All right. Can't stress enough how important the deep breaths, the constant reminder of just setting yourself feet planted, focused, locking in, but using that deep breath. Okay. The breath work is so powerful. Athletes don't realize how powerful this is. Okay. When you start to freak out a little bit, you start to say, oh, what's happening? I don't feel well. I'm too nervous. I can't do this. I'm letting my team down. I'm letting my family down. All the cycle of all the thoughts. If you just take that breath, it'll calm you down. And then you can get back into your cue words, right? So if you're up to bat, you have a cue word. If you're taking a snap, you have a cue word. If you have to perform on a critical third down or something that takes a lot of effort and energy, you have a cue word to put you back into that focused state. With training, all right, when you train, you have to have cue words to help you push past those barriers, those, parts of your mind that say you can't go anymore, you're done. But you think of that cue word that tells you, no, I can and I will. That's when you use them. So you have to have these set in stone. These are all triggers to help your performance and to get into that zone to keep that elite mindset. So the last one I want to go over with you is my personal favorite, the mental training tools, right? Everyone always says like, what is mental training? Like, what does this actually do? And it's not just thinking about things, right? It's actual behaviors, okay? Things that you have to utilize in order to build that mental toughness to stay in that flow state, to keep that elite mindset. So when you look at mental training tools, right? Positive self-talk, okay? You have to practice this every day. You have to tell yourself over and over again, hey, I have got to say these cue words and talk to myself like this before the negativity happens, right? When I coach athletes, they're saying, oh my gosh, my thoughts just start running. I made a mistake. I let my team down. My parents are mad. My fans are watching. This is so embarrassing. You got to stop that right away. And the tool that you use is every single day utilizing self-talk techniques and using your words that allow you to increase your likelihood of intercepting that negative self-talk and interjecting the positive. Okay. Next is mental success imagery, right? So you have to see yourself visualizing the absolute best scenario. And I'm going to get to the opposite of that in a second, but you have to take confidence that you've built from your past success and experiences and dial that into what's coming next, right? So if there's a lot of pressure at practice, you have to carry that confidence you've had from high school or your best game or your best practice and say, okay, I know what that felt like. I know what I need to do to get into that zone. I can see myself now going into practice or that game, that competition, and having success there. Always, always present moment focus. Okay. So there's this cool study on the Navy SEALs where they figured out that the guys who basically got into the SEAL training and would always think about, I can't do this for a week. I can't do this for another day. I can't do this for another month. How am I going to make this 6 months? They would be ringing the bell out of there right away. But the ones who stayed oriented in the present moment and focused, those SEALs are the ones that made it because they just said, what's the next task at hand? Walk to this training session? Great. I'm just going to watch my footsteps and go, what do we have to do here? Bear crawls here? All right. I'm doing bear crawls. That's all I'm worried about. Don't care what's next. Don't care what we've done before. I'm focused on what's important right now. And that allowed them to build up resilience to get through the next task. All right. So here, the opposite of that success imagery is pressure. Visualize the worst case scenario. What could possibly happen? And with that, I always tell athletes to develop an if then statement. When I was an offensive coordinator, I developed a whole if then policy and guide for our entire offense. So I had all of our base plays. And under each play, I had, if they stop it with this on defense, then we will run this play. And then it would just trickle down and become this kind of like this mind map that we're looking at right here to always having an answer for everything. And the only way after all of our if then scenarios that we would not be successful is if we were just getting absolutely overpowered. And that's when the weight room came in. So you always visualize the worst case scenario. You always find a way to picture what's the worst that could happen, because if it does, you'll be prepared for it and you'll be ready and you'll have your if then statements to say, okay, if I start talking to myself like this, then I will counter it with these keywords. Goal setting. Don't say, I want to be a college athlete. Okay. That's too broad. You need to say, I want to be the most confident, disciplined football player, baseball player, volleyball player in the country, and no one will be more consistent and work harder than me. That is a great goal. Of course, the big picture later down the road is this is going to inevitably get me to college and to the pros. However, when you set your goals, they have to be super specific, like we've said before. And when you set those goals and you have them in the back of your mind, I call that the big focus, right? You always have that big focus in the back of your head thinking, is this fast food really going to help me towards my goal versus, going home and eating what I have leftovers of this salad or whatever the healthy meal is that day. Always thinking about what's important for the long-term goal, but then focus in on what's important right now to accomplish that goal. So look, this is just a simple breakdown of what it looks like to be an elite athlete. We were going over a few of these, the tactics that I use, I personally coach. If you want to learn more about my program, like I said, I hate calling it a program. It's coaching. We're one to one coaching. I'm with you. We text, we talk, we build your custom plans, we build out your routines that I use for all of my athletes, a morning, afternoon, and night routine. And that simply rewires your brain to take you to the next level of that calm and fulfillment of sport. So if interested in that, please click the link below. We'll be in touch. Thanks for watching.